Okay, time for a new video, and whether you're somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, therefore I apologise in advance if I stumble over my words going forwards, and indeed if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well, if there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. Sometimes I film in the middle of the day, sometimes in the evening, and I think sometimes that plays a part in the quality actually, but hopefully it's all fine. Today is yet another Eurovision related video here on my channel, and it's another installment in my series in which I take a look back at older editions of the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, when I started this series, I began with 2003, which is the first contest that I remember watching when I was 10 years old, and I moved forwards in time up to, I believe, 2019. Recently I started that series again with 2002, and now I'm moving backwards in time. Now, how many of these videos I'm going to film moving forwards, they will be sporadic, I really don't know. If you want to see them, I will film them. Anyway, today it's the 2001 contest. I should say as well, this over here is my fan, so if you hear a bit of whirring in the background, that's what it is. So this is the CD. And of course, the 2001 contest was 20 years ago, just over 20 years ago, as I'm filming this. And it was in Copenhagen, in Denmark. This is what the CD looks like, the bog standard Eurovision logo that they used back in the day. And I bought this online, second-hand, probably about 2 years ago now. It can be very expensive, the older CDs. This one, certainly you could see it online for £20 or £30, but I think this was relatively cheap, and I may as well just show you. The disc is blue. I have shown this on the channel before. And then the booklet, we've got images of the artists. For example, we've got well, that's Tal Sondak there, you can just see his face, from Israel. We've got Natasha Sompierre for France, who was, until this year, the most successful French participant of the century. And then Fabrizio Faniello, who would be back in '06 as well, for Malta. There he is. So, the 2001 contest, as with what you could say regarding 2002 as well, not a vintage year. In fact, I think if you asked thousands of Eurovision fans which contest of the past 20-25 years do you think is the weakest, a lot of them would say the 2001 contest. There weren't many great songs, at least in my opinion. Maybe you disagree, but I think 2001 was a bit of a flawed Eurovision year for many reasons, which I'll get onto. I have information in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything. The '01 contest was the 46th edition, and of course it was staged in Copenhagen in Denmark, because Denmark had won the year before for the first time since the 1960s with the absolute classic Fly on the Wings of Love, performed by the Olsen brothers. And it was on Saturday the 12th of May at the Parken Stadium, which is Denmark's national football ground and where FC Copenhagen play, and it's quite big, a capacity of somewhere close to 40,000, I believe. For Eurovision it was slightly less than that because of the stage and all of that business, but it's still the largest live audience we've had for Eurovision, and that wasn't great in many ways, because if you were sat at the back you couldn't really see a thing. The acoustics also not brilliant. Denmark did not have really a suitable venue for a show like Eurovision. Now they do. They have the somewhat new build Copenhagen Arena, but that wasn't even there in 2014 when Denmark hosted again. So it was a long time coming building that venue. But anyway, the Parken, they did the best job they could with it. A massive audience, great atmosphere, it must be said. But also, as I was saying, if you were near the back, you couldn't really see a thing, and perhaps you couldn't really hear too much either. The stage was pretty big as well, and lots of different panels made up the backdrop. Nothing too fancy. The hosts were Nastasia Kronbach and Soren Pilmark, who proceeded to present most of the show in rhyming couplets. Not the wisest move. The British commentator at the time, Sir Terry Wogan, I believe he had to apologise to the broadcaster DR for some comments he made during his commentary about the hosts. But anyway, The hosts don't really matter too much, I guess. 23 nations were involved because of the relegation procedure that was in place at the time. Austria, Belgium, Cyprus, Finland, Macedonia, Romania and Switzerland were out. Bosnia, Greece, Lithuania, Poland, Portugal and Slovenia were back. It says here, couple of incidents. The Swedish entry, Listen to Your Heartbeat, was accused of plagiarism of the Belgian 1996 entry, Liefde is een kaartspel, and it's worth saying they are very similar. And then also the interval act, Aqua, who were massive at the time, Barbie Girl, Dr. Jones, all of that business. They did the interval act, and there was a bit of swearing, and it was all a bit tongue-in-cheek, all of that stuff. And I suppose it ruffled a few feathers, shall we say. Anyway, let's get into the songs. This is going to be a ramble, so bear with me. Song 1, the Netherlands. They were Song 2 in 2000, and Song 1 a year later. This was Michelle, 2 singers called Michelle that year, the other one for Germany, more on them in a bit. But this song was called Out on My Own, performed in English. It finished 18th with 16 points, a high mark of 6 from Portugal. It's worth saying the voting once again. Some countries have 100% public vote, some had 50% jury and public vote, and other nations have 100% jury vote. So it was a blend of all of that style of voting. This song, I've always found it to be a bit underrated. It's a very gentle, melancholic sort of tune. It doesn't really build up to much. It's a very forgettable track, it must be said, to start a Eurovision Song Contest. This would never happen these days. But it's just really nice. If this was on later in the running order, I'm sure a few more points would have poured in. Michelle is 39 now. There's a picture of her here performing the cello, it looks like. And she was sitting on the stage. She had 2 other people with her, I believe. It's been a long time since I saw these performances, so I can't quite remember everything. But it's not often we see that, a musician actually sitting on the stage, at least for part of the performance. Yeah, just a very nice little track, but clearly didn't live long in the memory. Song 2, Iceland, The Death Spot, and so it definitely was for Iceland in 2001. This was Too Tricky with Angel, 2 guys, one of whom would be back in 2011 as part of Sigurjón's Friends. They were Kristján Gíslason and Gunnar Olason. And this song, an upbeat, feel-good number called Angel, finished joint last with Norway, 22nd place, 3 points, and those 3 points came from Denmark and Norway. They were in very bland, cream-coloured outfits. The whole lighting was very grey as well. Certainly they could have done a bit more with this, but the song certainly is not poor enough to warrant only 3 points. That is very low for what I think is a fine track, but there we are. Song 3, a bit of a different one, this, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Nino Peršić with Hano, performed in Bosnian and English, and there he is in sunglasses, and this is a sort of traditional, mysterious, folk, maybe a little bit folk sort of track, very difficult to describe. He wrote the song himself. It finished 14th with 29 points, a high mark of 10 from Croatia. Nino himself is from Sarajevo, doesn't say how old he is, seems as though he's still working in the music industry. But yeah, it's a very difficult song to describe, this one. I remember it being quite a colourful performance on the backdrop, if I recall. There is something quite engaging about it, but also it might just not be your thing. It's a very unorthodox type entry, shall we say. Song 4, Norway. So this was the other joint last entry. Haldor agreed with On My Own. Again, very plainly dressed, sort of a white vest, white shirt that was unbuttoned. This was quite theatrical, very musical theatre. Haldor himself, let's take a look. He was born in 1970, and it seems as though he does quite a bit of theatre work. His real name is Alexander. Fair enough, that was his birth name, and he is 51 now. I don't mind this. Good singer, but really very plain. And even for 2001, this song just felt so familiar. We'd had it in the past. People were bored by it. Song 5, Israel. This is quite a cheery number. En Davar, which means never mind, performed by Tal Sondak. For Israel, performed in Hebrew, 16th place, 25 points, a high mark of 10 from France. France always give Israel a bit of love in the contest. There he is, born in 1976, and he's also performed for the Jewish community in Denmark, the USA, Switzerland and Canada, apparently. I believe he is still making music. I want to say he released a song earlier this year. But anyway, yeah, it was quite a catchy number, quite a charismatic performer, but was never really going to push hard for the win. Song 6, Russia. Now this is a very different track. Lady Alpine Blue, performed in English by Moomy Troll, male lead singer. I believe it's an all-male group. I'll check in a moment. 12th place, 37 points. This is my least favourite of the 01 contest. I just can't get into it no matter how hard I try. This is a sort of indie, very quirky style of song. It says here rock, alternative rock, Britpop. There's definitely that sort of thing going on. They've been making music since the early 1980s. The lead singer is Ilya Lagutenko, who is now 52 and from Moscow. The band's name translates as Mummy Troll and is a pun on Moomin Troll from the series of books by Tove Jansson, The Moomins. Released a whole bunch of albums. They seem pretty popular still to this day in Russia. But this song, la 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 la, I mean, it's just... That was not a very good impression, but it's a very odd song. It doesn't stand out much. But clearly, a few people really enjoyed this. Very strange. We don't really get songs like that these days, that's for sure. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Song 7, Sweden. Pure Schlager pop here. Sweden doing what they do best. Listen to Your Heartbeat by Friends. 2 women here. And they also tried to represent Sweden a few other times. Finished 5th, 100 points. Points from most countries here. A high mark of 10 from Denmark. Friends, formed in 1999 and finished in 2002. Members included Nina Inhamar and Kim Scharnfalk. They were the 2 main members of the group here. They released a bunch of albums. Yeah, I mean, this song is fine. It's catchy. It's pop. It was always going to do quite well. What else is there to say? A fine performance. Song 8, Lithuania. 13th place, 35 points for this. Performed in English and Lithuanian. Scamp with You Got Style. Now, Scamp are still going. They are a pop, rock and ska group, although this definitely did have tones of hip-hop, rap, I guess. Erica Jennings, she's tried to represent Lithuania a few times since, a member of this group. And they've released a whole bunch of albums, although apparently not for about 12 years or so. This song isn't that great. Really not that great. Could have benefited from a little bit more energy. If you had a song like this year, for example, it would be instantly forgettable, I would say. But 13th place in what is a fairly average lineup of songs, I suppose that's fair enough. Song 9, Latvia. The previous year they debuted and finished 3rd. This song not quite as impressive. Too Much by Arnis Mednis, performed in English, 18th place, 16 points. A high mark of 8 from Estonia. Arnis was born in 1961 and is predominantly a jazz musician, apparently. This song is quite up-tempo. I suppose it's more pop than anything else. He was sort of moving about the stage with this sort of confident look on his face, but the song finished nowhere, and it's a bit of a downgrade, certainly, from their debut entry the year before. Croatia, Song 10. This is fine. Strings of My Heart by Vanna. Finished 10th with 42 points. 10, the highest mark for this song from Turkey and Malta. This is quite pleasant to listen to. It does feel a bit dated, even for 2001. Her actual name is Ivana Ranilovic Verdorjak. She's 50 years of age and released an album just a few years ago, so still going strong. Nice vocals, an alright track. What else is there to say? I know I'm repeating myself here, but really, so many of these songs sort of blend into one. Song 11, Croatia, MTM with So Se Ser Feliz Assim, performed in Portuguese, 17th place, 18 points. This is a very relaxing tune, fairly pleasant to listen to, a little bit underrated. Only 2 countries voted for them, 6 from Spain, 12 from France. Heavens above. Now MTM consisted of 2 guys, maybe a few more as backing singers, I don't really know. I don't think they're still making music now. But yeah, this is a very sort of so-so relaxing track. And the song title translates as Only Can Be Happy This Way. The song is influenced by urban music, with the duo telling their lovers that it is only with them that they can truly be happy. And it says here MTM stands for Marco, Tony and Music. Marco Quelas and Tony Jackson. That's not a very Portuguese name, but there we are. Anyway, Ireland, song 12. Now, I believe this was their poorest result to date at the time. Gary O'Shaughnessy, who it seems as though he hasn't really done much since 2001. I believe Ryan O'Shaughnessy is his nephew or something like that. He's the uncle of Ryan O'Shaughnessy, who represented Ireland with Together in Lisbon in 2018, and he did a much better job. This song is a cheesy ballad. He performed it fairly well, the vocals were fine, but this was dated even for 2001. 21st place, 6 measly points, 5 from the UK, of course, and 1 from Portugal. This just wasn't that brilliant, I suppose, when you look at the song as a whole. Song 13, much better stuff this. Spain. This was when Spain were, you know, hitting a good vein of form, it must be said. This was David Thiberra with Dile que la quiero. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da. This song was written by Alejandro Abad, who represented his country, I believe, in the early 90s. 1994. Yeah, he didn't do that well. This song finished in the top 10. David Thiberra, this is a Latin pop number. Let's see what he's up to these days. Must be in his 40s. He's 42, born in 1979. He's had a lot of success in Spain. Not so much over the recent years, but certainly in the early 2000s. Number ones, successful albums left, right and centre. Very charismatic performer. Had a couple of dancers with him. It's a very catchy, typically Spanish track, it must be said. 6th place, well deserved, 76 points. And he received a high mark of 12 from Israel. Fair enough. Then we have France. Now, in all honesty, this probably should have won. Natasha Sompierre, Je n'ai que mon âme, All I Have Is My Soul, I believe is the English translation, pretty much. Terrific ballad. And there was a bit of controversy with this because she performed some of it in English. And I want to say, I could be wrong here, but I want to say that this was the first French entry in Eurovision that had English lyrics somewhere in it. And that ruffled a few feathers as well. But anyway, Natasha Sompierre, she's terrific. 40 years of age. She's from New Brunswick in Belgium. She's been a coach on The Voice of Belgium. She's had a whole bunch of successful albums. She released an album last year called Croire, which doesn't seem to have fared terribly well. But yeah, she's had a few successful songs, no doubt about it. And this entry, Je n'ai que mon âme, it's terrific. Absolutely wonderful. It finished 4th with 142 points. The only country not to vote for it, Malta, surprising, but 3 sets of 12 points, Portugal and Russia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Terrific. Really simplistic, all about the voice. Wonderful. If this had been France's entry this year, it would have done very well indeed. Turkey, song 15, Sedat Yüce with Sevgiliye Son, performed in Turkish and English, 11th place, 41 points. This is, I use the word theatrical again, but it was a bit of a theatrical ballad. This sort of romantic melody, I guess. Sedat is in his mid-40s, from Izmir. He also attempted to participate on the Turkish version of The Voice, which garnered a negative response for some reason. But anyway, enough about him. The song, it's fine. It translates as The End of Love. There I am saying it's a romantic melody. He wore a white suit and was accompanied by a violinist and a pianist. Don't really remember too much about this, but in terms of the points, he received a high mark of 10 from Greece. There you go. The United Kingdom next, song 16, Lindsay Drakas with No Dream Impossible. I believe she was 16 at the time. It does seem as though she was very nervous on stage. This is a pop number with dance elements, I guess. 15th place, 28 points. No dream impossible. But the vocals were a bit shaky at times. The high mark here, 4 from Ireland. Lindsay, I think, is still making music. She's only 36. She's from Sheffield. Nearly stumbled over my words there. She's from Sheffield, so up north from where I am. Yeah, it says that she released an album 2 years ago. Fair play. Not much else to say about it, really. It could have been stronger on the night, but when you think about it, 15th place is somewhat respectable for this type of track. I believe it was our worst result to date at the time, but still not a complete disgrace. Slovenia, song 17. This is their joint best entry because it finished 7th, 70 points. A high mark of 10 from Bosnia. Nusha Derenda, she was in this sort of tight, was it yellow and black outfit? Yellow, black and white, can't quite remember. She was born Anushka Schnidersic. She's 52, and I believe she's still making music now, it seems that way. She has been in contention for Slovenia in their national final a whole bunch of times, most recently in 2016 with Tip Top. Her last album was a few years ago, and this song is sort of pulsating, electro-pop type number. It was absolutely one of the favourites to win at the time. 7th place, pretty damn impressive. Poland, song 18. This is a very cheerful number 2. Quite an energetic performer. Piasek with Too Long. 20th place, 11 points. A high mark of 5 from Germany. Now, I believe that he is quite well known in Poland. There he is, bearded fellow, 50 years of age. Yeah, he is a very successful musician in Poland. He's had a couple of #1 albums. He released an album last month called 50/50, and he's had a whole bunch of singles as well. He is a well-known figure. Andrzej Tomacz Piasecki. My pronunciation there, probably dreadful. But yes, he's gone on to have a very successful career, so Eurovision did him no harm, even though he finished in 20th place. The song, not bad, maybe a bit underrated. Then we have Germany. This is the other Michelle, with Wer Liebe lebt, which means Who Lives Love. And this Michelle finished 8th. There she is, blonde hair. That's a fairly old picture though. She's 49 years of age, from West Germany. Released an album last year. I don't know how well her music is faring in Germany, but there we are. She's won a whole bunch of awards as well. This song, it's a big ballad. There's not much else to say about it. Wasn't a huge fan of her vocals. She sang well, but there's something about her voice that just grated with me. I don't know what it is. But 66 points, 8th place, a high mark of 10 from Portugal and Spain. Then we have the winner, more on them in a moment. Malta, song 21. Fabrizio Faniello, really young at the time, came back in 2006 in Athens, finished last, 1 point, disgraceful. This is Another Summer Night. This is summery pop, nothing else to say about it. 9th place, deserved, 48 points, maybe a little bit cheesy when you think about it. 12 points from the host nation, Denmark. Fabrizio has tried to represent Malta many times, alongside the 2 times he did do it. He's 40 years of age, from Floriana. Yes, 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013 and 2017. Oh no, that's his sister. Excuse me, of course, Claudia Faniello did go to Kiev a few years ago and received 0 point in the public half of the results in the second semi-final. Fabrizio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Most recently in 2014, he's released a whole bunch of albums, a whole bunch of singles, including one in Maltese a few years ago. He's a very likeable person, great personality. This song, it's fine. It was never going to win, but 9th place, not bad at all. Song 22, Greece. This is a big fan favourite. The one that I suppose most fans would say They wanted to win. Antique, of course, Helena Paparizou, who would go on to win for Greece a few years later, was involved here in a sort of slinky outfit. I Would Die For You, performed in Greek and English, third place, 147 points. Points from every nation, including 12 from Sweden. Is that Sweden? Yes. And also Spain. Antique split up in 2003, but came back in 2019 briefly. The other member is Nikos Panagiotidis. They're actually from Gothenburg, but representing Greece. Couple of albums, the last one in 2003, won a bunch of awards as well. This is a really good pop number, really good instrumentals, and it deserved to finish that high up. It's a great track. And then we have Denmark, song 23, the host nation closing the show, Rollo and King, Never Ever Let You Go. How interesting that... I don't know where I was going with that, because I was thinking of another song entirely. But anyway, this was a sort of country pop song, very different. I believe there was a harmonica. I actually really like this song. Estonia, who did win, is my personal winner, but it's very close between them and Denmark in my personal ranking of the songs, always has been. Finished second, 177 points. A whole bunch of 12 points as well, from Germany, from Iceland, just to name two. Rollo and King, Soren Popper and Stefan Nielsen, but they were joined on stage by Senior Svensson. And two albums, one went to number 1, 2 times platinum. The Danish version of this track went to number 1, the English version went to number 3. This is just a toe-tapping, really likeable, fun song, brilliant atmosphere at the Parken, and oh man, deserved to do well, and so it came to be. But of course they were beaten by Estonia, and to think that Estonia debuted in 1994 and didn't do that well, but then had a string of great results. They pushed hard for their maiden victory and got it. They were fourth the year before. Tanel Padar, who was on stage in 2000 as a backing vocalist and was dating Inez, who was the Estonian representative in Stockholm, he won with Dave Benton and 2XL. Now it says here that Dave Benton is from Aruba in the Caribbean. He was the first black person. I believe he is still the only black person to win, although I could be wrong. I want to say he is the only black person to win, and at the age of 50 years and 101 days, the oldest contestant at the time to win the contest. That might still be the case as well. But anyway, Everybody, the name of this track. And this is a pop number that really hasn't aged terribly well. I mean, even for 2001, it must have felt quite weak and a bit of an outsider for the win. 198 points is a pretty high mark for the voting system at the time. I think it might have been the most successful song points-wise in the contest's history at the time. Tanel was a teenager, I think, back in 2001. He was in a sort of light blue shirt. Dave, I think, was wearing a pink shirt and then a sort of black jacket cardigan thing over the top. 2XL were doing the dancing in the background. It's a catchy song, lyrically not that brilliant. Tanel is 40 years of age now, and he's married, released an album last year. Dave Benton, who has been a jury member for Estonia as well, he is from Aruba. I think he's still making music, and he's married to somebody from Estonia, which is how I think he ended up settling there. He speaks 8 languages, apparently, absolutely extraordinary. And then 2XL, who are now known as Soul Militia, and they've tried to represent Estonia since. There's really not much else to say about this. It's an all-right winner in what was, as I said earlier, a fairly average year. Estonia got points from every country bar Portugal, and many 12s, including from the UK. And that really is all I have to say about the 2001 contest. We'll be seeing more of the Parken on TV over the next couple of weeks, because of course it's one of the venues that will be used for the European Football Championships. And that's it. There's the CD again. You can buy this online, and it's fairly difficult to get a hold of, I would say. I just got lucky one day and I thought, I'll have that. So yeah, 2001, not a brilliant year, but of course things would improve in the years to follow, and that's it. What an absolute rambling mess of a video this was. Let me know your thoughts on the 2001 contest, and I'll be back at some point soon. I need to film a video looking at the jury results for this year, and also looking ahead to 2022, and the next look back video will regard the 2000 contest. So until next time, hopefully the quality wasn't too bad. I actually look as though I'm sitting in the dark. No point moving it now because the video's over. Until next time, thank you very much for all of the support recently. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers. I'm very, very appreciative. Thank you so much once again. And until next time, it is now time for me to shut up. Hallelujah. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.